In the war-torn time of the Dark Age, a Battlemech would emerge which seemingly came from a recent era of destruction in the Inner Sphere, coming forth to fight for a new master in the bloody and violent wars of the 32nd century. This omni-monster walks, no, stalks through the battlefields against all of the Combine's foes, displaying the peak of its mech and weapon designs in this new, innovative platform. So intimidating is this Goliath that it even causes pilots to tremble at its very sight. This video covers Luthian Armorworks' seemingly celestial-inspired angel, the Tenshi. An assault mech weighing in at 95 tons, the Tenshi is one of the most sophisticated war machines of its era, and fully exploits a series of new technologies for its time of development, all while embracing Omnimech technology. Only machines that can replicate clan technology, which have appeared after the coming of this monster, are in a better position on the battlefield. For some, the name and shape of the Tenshi is a clear indicator as to its inspiration, being that of a far darker, recent time period in the Inner Sphere. These celestial machines were the product of one of the most depraved threats the Inner Sphere ever faced in its history, the Word of Blake. Such was the fear that was driven by these monsters, that even though the Tenshi is only inspired by them seemingly, it benefits from the same terror-inspiring quirk in the advanced rules, the distracting feature. When the Tenshi prowls through the war zones of this new era, it is an echo of a fearsome force, now in the hands of the Coordinator in the Draconis Combine, and it carries on its cursed legacy well. The Tenshi was introduced to the Draconis Combine mustered soldiery in 3103, only a little over 20 years after the final, bloody conclusions of the Celestials' time in the Inner Sphere. This also came at a time when the Combine was in the process of rebuilding its armed forces, breaking treaties it agreed to with the foundation of the Republic of the Sphere. It was done by taking military assets which had survived the Blakist era and transferring their equipment to planetary militias, getting this material off the balance sheets of the DCMS, and keeping it in line with treaties. If and when war broke out, these militias would be called upon, and would serve as backup for the new and powerful Draconis military. At the heart of these revitalized assault forces would be the Tenshi, an Omnimech, meaning it can be utilized to fill multiple roles and can quickly be reconfigured and repaired for battle, and when necessary, this kaiju would make up an important part of its breakthrough forces in the new century. It would be the Tenshi that would be the assault mech at the tip of the spear of many of the most dramatic conflicts that have taken place during the Dark Age, and now the Ill Clan era. After the events of Grey Monday, the Combine would enter into a dispute internally after the assassination and near destruction of House Kurita, leading to the installation of Yori Sakamoto as the Coordinator, now known as Yori Kurita. Her rise to power came as a result of Matsuhari Toranaga, one of the great warlords of the Dark Age. Another faction of the royal family, and certainly one closer to legitimacy, was backed by Clan Novacat, one of the clans which had at one time invaded the Inner Sphere, but had since begun to settle within the Draconis Combine, with one side backed by a military junta, and the other side backed by Clan Novacat. A war would unfold from 3141 to 3143, and the Tenshi would be on the front lines, fighting against clan Battlemechs in these vicious, contested battles. By the end of it, the Angel stood over its rivals, its hulking feet trampling over the crushed remains of Novacats as they were excised from the Combine resulting in their near annihilation as a people. Now the Tenshi's dark form lingers over the Federated Suns, as the Combine turned its attention to its ancient rival. The Tenshi would be a part of the assault forces which not only participated in the utter destruction of the Federated Suns forces on Palmyra, the worst disaster in the history of the armed forces of the Federated Suns, but later this mighty war machine was used to plow through the area now known as the Dragon's Tongue, all the way to the greatest conquest in the history of the Dragon, the taking of New Avalon, the capital of the Federated Suns. The Tenshi is but one piece of these forces, but it represents the new DCMS, one which is adaptable, technologically sophisticated, excellently led, and has a battlefield doctrine built around machines which can handle a multitude of situations and adversaries. The Combine's military machine is now one of the greatest in the Inner Sphere, and as of the production of this video, the Tenshi stands poised to square off against the Federated Suns' counterattack for their home world. A world which the Angel undoubtedly guards. It was the first of a new generation of Combine Omnimechs for its new army. It's also likely that there will be newer, more advanced standardized pod configurations that we will be seeing sooner rather than later. Because it is an Omnimech, the Combine's Angel has a base foundation of equipment, but it is otherwise modular in various configurations. This means that its heatsinks, weapons, and other installed features may vary from version to version, often being equipped as one of these standardized variants on the way out to the battlefield itself. In order to save weight, but to not take up too much critical, the TN-10-0's internal structure utilizes endo-composite, saving it 2 tons in totality. In order to prevent the mech from being criticaled with a debilitating gyro hit as well, it uses the saved weight to install a compact gyro, freeing up critical space in its center torso, and adding durability as well. This was commonly seen in traditional celestial mechs, which look suspiciously similar. For advanced rule features, the Tenshi has several, one of which was mentioned prior, that it has the distracting perk, but there are 2 others taking on the form of the searchlight trait, as well as the difficult ejection trait. Difficult ejection is a painful trait to have to keep pilots alive, but it is a small price to pay for such a well-attuned and managed Inner Sphere Omnimech. In order to save on more weight for weapons, but to not leave the Tenshi as exposed as using a full Inner Sphere XL engine, this mighty behemoth instead turns to the Hermes 285 light fusion engine, which weighs 12.5 tons. This compromise on weight for space gives the Tenshi several extra tons to work with for other systems. The Hermes 285, though a powerful engine for lighter machines, is no match for the immense weight of the Tenshi, and only allows this slow-moving juggernaut to accelerate up to 54 kilometers per hour, or 5 movement points in the tabletop game. Speed is a major contributor in determining the kind of work a mech can do, and moving slower than a battle-line mech force means that the Tenshi inevitably is a breakthrough mech, and only has a home inside of assault formations, for the most part. Due to the modular nature of its design, it doesn't require a large base of heatsinks. It comes installed with 11 double heatsinks, giving it 22 sinking capacity, should it not have a variant that increases this total with available pod space. While specialist armor types dominate the Dark Age and Ilclan era, the Tenshi doesn't have these equipped, likely to save on critical space for its potential onboard systems. It does, however, make a significant investment in standard plating, having 18.5 tons of this plate installed, making it just shy of an Atlas in overall protection with 293 points of armor. While this may not be unimaginably hardened for this time, it is well protected, and the idea of chewing through this volume of plating would not be a pleasant or desirable prospect for any Mechwarrior, even one with a comparable machine in their possession. Where the Tenshi shines as a design, either for custom refits or for standard mapped configurations, is the immense amount of space it has to work with. It has 48 tons worth of modular pod space, allowing it to install an enormous volume of weapons and other materials, as we'll see through the rest of this presentation. The celestial angel of the Draconis Combine has the teeth of a dragon, it would seem. The most consistent configuration is the direct fire support variant of the Mech, which is a truly intimidating monster to see appear on the field of battle. First, it installs 5 light PPCs, giving it a long-range reach with these compact particle cannons, each one able to hit for up to 5 damage, but out to the distance of a standard PPC, and all 5 are mounted in the right arm. To back these up is its single hardest-hitting weapon, which works in an excellent way with these smaller particle cannons. More specifically, it is equipped with a GAUSS rifle, mounted in its left arm, with a more than impressive 24 rounds of ammunition. This not only means it can strike hard and with deadly rounds to break through armor or acquire lucky headshots, but it has the endurance to fight through long engagements while not letting its rifle tire, or is able to engage in several smaller engagements before needing to resupply. Twin single-shot rocket launcher 10s are installed, with one in each leg, which offers this beast a quick, final response to targets which may need to be put down in a hurried order. In terms of systems, its ARM-based weapons are routed through a targeting computer, increasing their accuracy and giving the mech a far deadlier bite at long and medium ranges. This also makes attacks of opportunity against obscured targets less of a risk in terms of its investment of firepower. To upgrade these weapons further, it installs 3 additional double heatsinks, giving it a great ability to manage its load of fire, and in fact, if it does not move, it can fire its entire ARM-based weapons payloads without overheating in the slightest. As if this weren't enough, it has 2 additional onboard systems that add to this dangerous edge, to give it bursts of increased speed, either to engage fleeing targets, rush towards cover, or to accelerate its way out of a dangerous situation. A supercharger is on board for the Prime variant. Worse for its enemies yet, it has an electronics countermeasures system on board, adding an extra layer of defense in the form of a Guardian ECM. The Prime Tenshi is a brutal destroyer. Anyone who finds themselves faced off against this huge, long-range battering ram of a Battlemech will quickly find it and its unit are a threat to them, even for those in possession of clan mechs. Whereas the Prime is a long-range striker and direct fire support mech, the A variant is a much more short-range oriented machine, coming with a battery of deadly variable speed pulse lasers. Its primary onboard weapons are in fact 3 of these variable speed pulse lasers, with one mounted in the center torso and then one mounted in each of its arms. These lasers do damage at different ranges, though they can be quite hot, generating 10 points of heat each. It may hit harder than an inner sphere PPC, or it may land with less force than that of a large laser, depending on the bracket they are fired at, though they do still have the benefit of accuracy that normal pulse lasers possess, giving them a bite at any range, just given that they can hit with enhanced accuracy. To assist this battery of lasers, 5 additional heatsinks are installed, increasing its cooling capacity to 32, allowing it to run and fire all 3 of these advanced laser lenses. Where it gets deadlier is the fact that it has an MRM-30 installed on board in its left torso, or a medium-range missile pack of 30. This enormous battery of missiles has 16 rounds of fire. These back up the laser systems by adding an immense scatter damage to their more concentrated fire. Though this system is normally not accurate, the Combine opted to install an Apollo FCS system on board to guide these missiles, removing its normal accuracy penalty. Its ammunition is protected by a Case 2, in order to help the machine avoid an unfortunate, explosive end. and in order to prevent torso loss. The final piece that brings all of this together are its twin coolant pods, with one mounted in each of its legs. So even if this machine is driven too far into the heat charts by alpha striking, it has these twin devices to rein in its heat expenditures. This model is an alpha striking machine that will hammer targets in close ranges, puncturing armor with repeated pulse blasts before saturating its opponent with missiles. It is not to be ignored. Another close-range attack dog, the B configuration switches its systems dramatically, and even goes as far as to add jump jets to the mech, enhancing its capabilities in dense environments. What is truly terrifying about this variant of the Tenshi is its twin TSEMP systems, which can fire every other turn, and may in fact shut down an enemy battlemech or cause major interference to their onboard systems upon a successful hit, disabling it entirely or partially. Because it has two of these systems, it also means it can alternate fire between turns if it wishes to, making sure it can launch this devastating attack every turn. This weapon, by itself, is a frightening asset, despite not doing any damage on its own. One is mounted in each of its arms. As if this were not enough, it has an assembly of other deadly systems. The hardest hitting of these is the terrifying heavy PPC system mounted in its right torso. Each shot from this can clip the head off most mechs, or otherwise do major punctures to enemy plating. To back this up further, it has a pair of medium pulse lasers in the left torso. Not to be left without any scatter damage, the Tenshi carries a pair of SRM-6 streak systems as well, with one in each of its arms. Though its ammunition is not cased, unfortunately, with 1 ton in each side torso. To attempt to deal with the excess heat burden all of these systems generate, as the Tenshi has no hope of making a safe alpha strike when including the TSEMP systems, it installs 5 additional double heat sinks, giving it the ability to safely manage its other weapon systems. Still, it may need to bracket its weapon's fire. It is important to note that this variant does not do particularly well at long ranges in straight-on firefights, though its heavy PPC is still intimidating enough. This Tenshi is very much geared towards mid-range brawls at best, and will always want to rely on terrain to its benefit. The most sophisticated of the Tenshis, and perhaps one of the strangest, the R configuration uses some advanced clan technologies for its weapons, and relies on being at extreme distances otherwise. Its primary offensive option are a pair of extended-range LRM-20 systems, with one installed in each of its side torsos. They have a total of 12 rounds of fire per launcher. This is an enormous tonnage investment, and is meant to bombard targets from extreme distances. If the battle should come into a shorter range, which it ideally should not, it can defend itself with 5 clan ER medium lasers, with 2 in each of its arms, and 1 in its center torso. It has a single double heatsink installed for extra heat management. Overall, this variant of the Tenshi would very much like to avoid direct confrontation, but it can still somewhat defend itself with its battery of clan lasers. Coming in a variety of variants and roles, the Tenshi is an excellent machine for most assault battlefield operations. Long range and indirect fire support? If available, it has the R configuration. Long-range, accurate, direct fire support with better mobility, as well as electronic warfare defenses? The primary configuration would be a nightmare for almost any foe to come across. Even some clan mechs will shy away from confronting this on its own terms. Close range, accurate fire, and barrages of missiles? The A variant most certainly suffices for this task. Want to fight in a built-up area of a city, forest, or otherwise obscure terrain? The B variant certainly seems like the best solution. even if its TSEMP weapon might lose you some lifelong friends during the game from their use. There are uses for this Battlemech across the spectrum. The Draconis Combine in the beginning of the 32nd century created an absolutely horrifying abomination. Perhaps the last remaining successor, even in some distant ways, of the celestial mechs. The Tenshi is every bit as terrifying as one might imagine. It smartly uses its weight in every configuration to get the best result for its draconic overlords. Whether it be clanners in the form of Ghostbearer or Novacat, or inner sphere forces in the form of the now former Republic of the Sphere or the Federated Suns, this champion of the resurgent DCMS will crash into its opponents like a tsunami, and will radiate with light before unleashing destruction in the form of lasers or particles on its wayward enemies. For all will one day serve the Combine. Long live Coordinator Yori Kurita, the legitimate and valiant ruler of the Draconis Combine. May her enemies fear her, and the power of her war machines, for now she rules one realm. Soon she may rule two. In the future, the title of First Lord may finally be in the hands of the dragon, and that dragon may be Yori Kurita. Only time will tell, if she avoids having a divided dominion. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I do updates very frequently and you'll be happy with the content, I think. I have also decided to include a link to the Ironwind Metal store in the description below, should you be interested in the Tenshi. That is where you can find them to add to your collection. A huge thank you to all the YouTube members for this channel. When you hit the join button and become a member, you take an extra step in supporting the content on this channel, and I can't thank you enough. Because this content is only possible because of viewers like you. With that, I will see you all in the comment section below.